Good day, my name is Leon Combrink and I will be taking you through today's video. Today, primarily what we're going to have a look at is some ISQC1 updates that we've tweaked within our RAC methodology. Now the primary focus is just to take you through the document flow so that as you are completing these documents in your audit, you are able to go through the entire process to ensure that you're complying in particular with the requirements of NOCLAR, non-compliance with laws and regulations. Now there are a couple of entry points for possible contravention of or non-compliance of laws and regulations, and the two main documents that you'll see this in is document 12.25, the laws and regulations document, as well as document 03.30, which is a relatively new one which deals directly with laws and regulations. Now I'm going to start with 12.25, and 12.25 is typically something you're going to be completing when you are planning the audit engagement, although you can refer back to it at times if perhaps some information was not available before you went to the client. But the key information that you are going to be completing here is specific acts that have been identified that could impact the financial statements. And what is important, and you'll see that we've got examples, there are a couple of examples that we give you to kind of push you in the right direction. But ultimately there's a question on this document as to whether or not any non-compliance was identified or suspected as a result of the procedures above. There's some basic procedures, going and understanding the applicable framework, inspecting correspondence, and then there's a very broad question here: obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence about compliance. And for every single act there's going to be a different level of work that you're going to be needing to do, and sometimes you're going to be needing to go and add a new working paper and go and document specifically what you've done to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. This is not a yes/no. Yes, we've obtained it. It's place either to document if it's short or to go and put a hyperlink for another working paper. But then in each one we've got a question: was any non-compliance identified? And as soon as I answer yes to this question, you will see that a number of additional questions come up. And what we have tried to do is just to guide you through ISA 250 specifically, to enable you to get an understanding and be able to go and refer back to the ISA where there's any uncertainty. Okay. Now it says if yes, so in other words there is non-compliance, document a brief summary of your understanding. Now this is something that will then carry through in your file, the description that you write here, through to laws and regulations and then other documents as well. So we're looking for a basic understanding, a brief summary. We will definitely document more later on. So we can go and document our summary. Okay, and just to also show you, there are other questions. I'm not going to go through the detail of each. Does this represent a matter to be assessed further on 0330? So in other words, there are questions here about the nature, but if you get to this point and you discover no, there's no non-compliance, or the extra procedures we did ruled out non-compliance as a problem, you could at this point say no, we're not going to assess it further. But if there is still suspicion or uncertainty, please go and mark it as a yes. You can add additional hyperlinks, as you can see there, if you wish, but otherwise it's going to just automatically put a hyperlink in for you to 0330. Let's go and document on a second one. Okay, and I'm just going to write here another example. And again, I do need to go and say yes to this question so that it carries through. Okay, once I've done that and there are additional acts you can go and document, if there are further acts, there's space for I think 20 or so acts. You can go and add additional acts if necessary. You'll see that there are some questions here about sufficient information about suspected non-compliance. You can answer this at this stage, but bear in mind that we are still going to document quite a lot of additional information when we get to 0330 and beyond. Okay, so that's 12.25 in a nutshell. It's pretty important, and as you can see, these blue areas will roll forward into new financial years, so it's worth documenting your understanding in quite a bit of detail if you have the opportunity to do so. 0330 previously was a far more detailed document, and you'll see that we've still got quite a lot of guidance sitting in here. But we have split this information out. The information started becoming quite a lot and quite difficult to follow in one single document. So what we've done in 0330 is it has become a summary document. So there are the two that we've documented in 12.25, and we can go, and during the course of the audit you might discover that there are additional suspected or actual non-compliance events that you need to go and document. So during the course of the audit, even though it's in section 03, which is part of the finalization, please come and document any other matters in this document. As you add, you'll see more space opens. There's something like 20 available spaces. Okay. Now this is basically all that is going on in 0330. Okay, it is a summarization of all the matters. We now need to go and do detailed assessments of each of these. And it's talking here, reference to detailed assessment template 0330.xx. And if you go to your rack tab, under additional templates, you'll find that 0330xx. Now if I click on that, it pops up a little window and asks me to give the document a name. I can call it 0330.21 and assessment 1, or you can give it a better name based on your summary of that matter and input that file. Alright, what that will now do, if I open up, sorry, it's going to be just off screen, but it becomes one of your working papers within Draftworx. Okay, now again, we've got some guidance. You'll see there's quite a lot of detail in the actions. There's also a little section here on automation, and you can go back and read that, but I'll explain what I mean with automation. Okay, you have got to go and create a separate one of these documents for every single item that you've identified on the laws and regulations working paper. Every single matter has got to have a detailed assessment. Now if I go back to assessment 1, I go to the matter, and you'll see that at the moment it's just got some text there to say to automate, select the appropriate matter from the selection sheet. Now this selection sheet has the same summary list as 0330, just no blanks, you can't add new ones here. And all you need to do is go and decide, okay, I'm going to do this another example matter on this working paper. Okay, you'll see the little warning to select one goes away. If I go and I select a second one, it's going to say please only select one item, so I don't want to do that. You can only do one at a time. And then this big orange cell, you'll see it's got a bit of a formula in there. You can ignore the formula. It's saying please create a smart doc in this cell, and then with that we'll be able to automatically carry information over to your finalization documents and various other places. The simplest way to do this is the name that the smart doc must have. Just go and press Ctrl C to copy. Click on this large orange cell, go to the Design tab. On the far right you'll see the option to create a smart doc. Click on that. Now I can use Ctrl V to paste, but you'll see that unfortunately it is adding a space. Please just remove that space and you can click OK. As I do that, it just tells you this is now linked to smartdoc_laws_regs matter 01, which is 100% correct. What that now does is if I go back to 0330, it's actually putting a reference in there automatically for me. Okay, so you can go and still make a hyperlink if you wish, but the nice thing about this reference is that if I change the document number, it'll automatically update. It's not a hyperlink, but at least it's got the reference and a cross-reference for you to be able to work with. Okay, back to the assessment. There is a lot of questions to answer in this assessment. Okay, NOCLAR is a pretty important section, and the ISQC1 change has also highlighted this. But ultimately, when you get to close to the bottom, there's just a little summary section here, information to be carried over to 0505 overall partner evaluation, and that's the matter identified. It'll default to whatever is above, but you can edit that if you wish. What is the likely impact? Go and give a summary of the likely impact of non-compliance, and then various questions about materiality, limitations imposed by management, and other limitations in terms of your ability to properly assess this matter. And then there's a very good control. Go and make sure you've complied with all the requirements. And at the end of the day, this has got to be signed off by a partner. Each and every one of these has got to be individually signed off by the partner. You are able to use the electronic sign-offs if you're logged in as a partner. And then you can also go and put in hyperlinks to where you've maybe included something on the management report, or had to do a report to URBA for reportable irregularities, depending on the nature of the event. Okay, there's a lot to document. Please go through this carefully. Please don't try and run through this in too much haste. It's a very critical section of the audit. Okay, from there I can then go and decide, okay, I want to create myself my next sheet. Okay, I want to do one of my next items, so I can go to the rack tab, go to additional templates, create a new one, and I'm now going to call this 03.30.25. Assessment 2, input that file, and I can go and open up my second assessment. Okay, and once again I can start with my selection. You'll see that it's now actually putting the reference of that other example in for us as well. So I don't have to duplicate it. I know I've already got an existing document. I can just go and select that item. Once again, laws and regs, go to design, create the smart doc. Please ensure that you remove the space. Okay, and I can then go and document my information. Now, just to show you what comes through, sorry, two things I must just identify. Firstly, if the matter is inconsequential, let's say assessment item 2 was inconsequential, then all the questions hide. Okay, and all that will carry over to the finalization document is that the matter is being assessed as inconsequential. However, let's go to assessment 1, and on this summary, just going to add some detail. Alright, unable to determine materiality of the matter, and a yes and a no. Okay, that information will now carry over to 05.05. Go to the section. Okay, now please ensure that on 0330 you have created a document for each one of these items. If you don't create a document, it's not going to carry over to 05.05. Okay. Also, if you don't use the automation, please go and fill in this documentation manually, but that's why we've got the automation, just to make this a little bit easier. And there are some additional questions just on the impact in terms of ISO 250 that you'll see coming up there. That matter assessed as inconsequential. No further documentation. The rest it brings through the summary, brings through the working paper reference, and assists you in dealing with this laws and regulations, and specifically the NOCLAR impacts. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Please let us know on support if there are any problems, questions, or concerns. We always love hearing back from you, hearing your feedback. Thanks very much. Goodbye.